Hello, and thanks for listening to PXP Podcast. It's a show about leadership, self-development, personal growth, and accountability. I'm your host, Jamie Yarrow. Now, you can catch our podcast on almost any platform or directly from our website at pxppodcast.com. To hear it hot off the press, check out our host on the Podbean app. If you have questions or want to hear a particular topic discussed, or even want to be a guest on the show, connect with me on social and send me a message. Now, are you ready to kick off today's episode? All right, here we go. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you might be in. Welcome to PXP. I'm your host, Jamie Yarrow. And today we're going to be diving into a topic that I believe resonates with every one of us at some point or another in our lives. Maybe you're in the middle of this right now. Maybe you have overcome it already. And if those two things don't fit, then I would just about guarantee that at some point in your future, you will experience this. And today we're going to be talking about how to overcome limiting beliefs. And we're going to do that by building confidence. You know, it's really easy to look at successful people and think that they have never struggled before, or they've never had self-doubt, or this term limiting beliefs, which that's kind of a buzz phrase you hear sometimes, and maybe you're not familiar with what that means. And by the end of this podcast, I hope you have a really good understanding of what limiting beliefs is and how to overcome those, right? We're going to give you a framework on how to do that today. But the truth is, everyone faces these challenges. You know, whether you are starting a new business, or maybe you're at work and you're trying to get a promotion, or maybe you're just, you're trying to improve some aspect of your life. Limiting beliefs are those things that hold you back, those thoughts in your mind, those nagging thoughts, and they tell you you're not good enough, or you can't do this. Sometimes you tell yourself you don't deserve this. Or maybe you hear yourself say, you've tried this before and it didn't work. Or what are people going to think about me? Right? Do any of those sound familiar or something similar that maybe you tell yourself, your mind tells you? I want to share a personal story with you. When I first started doing or considering to do like voiceover work or announcing, sports announcing, which I love to do, or even starting this podcast, right? I was overwhelmed by self-doubt. I mean, I actually didn't think that, I was good enough. I would even when I received compliments from people that would say, you really have a gift in this, I would get some encouragement from people. I still struggled with that imposter syndrome, right? That I just wasn't good enough. I would tell myself in my mind, if I made the smallest little itty bitty mistake, I would tell myself, well, you're not good enough for this. You're not cut out for this, or you're not, people aren't going to think that you're good enough to be doing this. So just don't even bother. I would tell myself that. And I constantly questioned my abilities, and I felt like I didn't belong in this space, right? And every time I would listen to my recordings, all I could hear were the flaws. The little bitty things that I heard that probably nobody else even heard, or that they just chalked up to normal conversation, right? Just a conversational type format. But I called them flaws. I would look at them like flaws. And I convinced myself that I just wasn't good enough, and that I didn't have what it takes to use my voice as a gift, and that I would never measure up to other professionals in the field or in the industry or whatever space I was in, whether I was speaking or whether I was recording something or doing a podcast or doing some sports announcing. I just would always measure myself up to other people, and in my mind, I just didn't measure up. Imposter syndrome can be incredibly debilitating, right? It's that voice in your head that says, you're just not good enough, and this is not where you belong, and it's just a matter of time before everybody else realizes it too. And even, like I said, when you receive positive feedback, it's still incredibly hard to internalize that, right? You You chalk up your successes maybe in a certain area to luck or to some external factor, right? And you never give yourself credit for the skills and the hard work that you put in. Is any of this sounding familiar to you? Is any of this resonating? You can say, yes, I totally understand what you're saying. It's these limiting beliefs that often manifest themselves as symptoms that we might not even realize at first. Think about procrastination. I wrote that down on my outline. I wanted to make sure that I talked about procrastination because that's real, right? Putting off tasks because deep down inside, you're afraid you won't do them well. And maybe you don't even realize that that's why sometimes we procrastinate, is because we don't believe that we're going to be able to measure up, right? Another one is perfectionism. And that's where we set these super high standards, sometimes impossibly high. And then we beat ourselves up when we don't meet those standards. Think about self-sabotage. That's a very common symptom. You start a project really well and you're super enthusiastic about it, right? You're going to just knock this one out of the park. But then for some reason, you start to undermine your own efforts when things start to go well. I talk to business owners who are just stuck in this rat race of always having chaos in their life, right? They always have something going on. When you talk to them, it's like, Jamie, I got this going on. And the next time you talk to them, yeah, but I got this going on now. And you won't believe what happened to me now. And sometimes I wonder if that chaos, although super uncomfortable and incredibly unproductive, is their self-sabotage, their comfort zone. It's like that is what their norm is. And so they're always trying to fill their life or their day or their business or whatever it is. They're always trying to fill that with some chaos, right? There's always got to be conflict because if things started to smooth out, they wouldn't know how to handle that. So they just always are in this state of chaos. That self-sabotage, that limited belief that I'm not good enough to achieve X, Y, Z. And so if I always have this chaos in my life, listen to me now, because this is going to resonate with some of you. If I always have this chaos in my life, so if you're one of those people, like stuff just always happens to you, right? Every time you turn around, it's something. I want you to think about something. What if everything went well? What would you do then? Would you be able to handle that? Would you be okay with being successful? Would you be okay with not having fires to put out every day? What would that look like in your life? If you just imagine, like you came in to work for the day or you came home for the day or whatever, you got up out of bed and there were no fires to put out. Is that an uncomfortable space for you? And so subconsciously, you're always creating, and I'm not saying that you're making these things happen, but you're taking them and you're putting them into a place where they're forefront, right? We're trying to control things that are out of our control. And I have a big saying that this is one of my mantras. I say, control the controllables. So many times we try to control things that are outside of our control, and it creates chaos in our life, right? And I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I think it's all related and it's important. But when we allow these things to continually creep into our life, this constant state of chaos or always putting out fires, there's always an emergency of some kind. There's always this, you won't believe what happened next kind of an atmosphere. I want you to stop and think, what would happen if everything was going well? What would you do then? Because sometimes it's that vision that we have to create in our mind of what we want, right? So if everything was going well, then what would you do? And maybe that gives you the opportunity to say, you know what? These things that I get all bent out of shape about, that I tell myself, these limiting beliefs sometimes that creep into my mind and maybe create chaos. If those things weren't there, if I didn't worry about those, and I'm not going to because they're out of my control, and I'm just going to deal with the things that I can control, then I could do X, Y, Z. And I think you'll find if you stop and think, and you just really believe about what the future could look like if you weren't in a constant state of chaos and you weren't telling yourself, I can't do this because XYZ. I can't do this because I don't deserve it. I can't do this because I shouldn't be successful. I can't do this because I'm not good enough. I can't do this because I've tried it before and it didn't work. Right? Or whatever you tell yourself. What would it look like if you weren't telling yourself that? Because listen, our mind believes what it hears. Our subconscious mind, you've heard this before probably. Our subconscious mind, it doesn't know the difference of when we tell it something or someone else tells it something. And when we tell ourselves, I'm not good enough to do XYZ, and we hear it often enough, we start to believe it. You know, when you buy a new car or you just get a new car, you start driving something different. When I got my white Dodge Ram I'm in right now, when I got that truck, all I saw on the road everywhere was white Dodge Rams, right? You know what I'm talking about. Same thing for you. I mean, whatever you drive right now, you probably see every one of those on the road. That's the same thing that our subconscious mind goes through. When it hears, I'm not good enough, I'm not talented enough, I don't deserve to be successful, I've tried that and it didn't work, I've failed before at it, so I'm not going to try it again. When your mind continually hears those things, it starts to believe them, and that becomes the new reality. So in my case, procrastination and self-sabotage were constant companions. I would find endless excuses to delay recording sessions or figure out a way to not send a demo to somewhere or not do an audition for something, right? I would find reasons to not do it. And when I did manage to put something together, I would just pick it apart. And I would find all the flaws. I would find every little fault. And I would set myself up for failure to perfectionism. And I would convince myself that I just wasn't good enough to share XYZ. My content wasn't there. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. That's what I told myself. And listen, if you're in those shoes, if you're wearing those shoes, if you're walking down that path right now, can I tell you, it's not true. It's just not true. Those are limiting beliefs that you're telling yourself. And I want to help you get past those today. And I think there's a good recipe to get past those. And I think you're going to find that it's incredibly easy to do. Just take some focus and a little bit of time. So are you excited about hearing how to get past those limiting beliefs? All right, so let's talk about how do we tackle those. The answer lies in building confidence, right? And that confidence starts with making commitments, listen to me, to ourselves and then keeping them, right? Confidence doesn't come from making a commitment to somebody else and keeping it. That can be later. That can be a side effect of you building confidence. But confidence comes from making commitments to yourself and then keeping them. And I'm going to tell you why that is. So think about it. Every time that you set a goal and achieve it, no matter how small that is, you are reinforcing your belief that you are capable, right? That you're trustworthy to yourself, that you're good enough, that you do deserve that little win, that even if you failed before, you can be successful now. You're telling yourself all these things when you set that goal and you achieve it, no matter how small it is, right? And I suggest you start small. If you have the tendency to have limiting beliefs, I'm gonna give you some tangible, actionable steps that you can do. We're going to talk about those in a minute. I wrote down 8 or 9 or 10, something like that. We'll get to those in just a minute. But I'm going to give you some steps that you can do, steps you can take that's going to help you to get these little wins. Because when you get those little wins, they build on each other. It's like a snowball effect. You know, you get a little win for achieving something that you committed to. It becomes a habit. You committed to XYZ. I'm going to do XYZ over the next, week, 2 weeks, whatever. I'm going to get up, and I'm a big fan of the 30-30-30. right? 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up, followed by 30 minutes of exercise. Big fan of that. So let's say I commit to that. And I say I'm going to do that for the next 2 weeks, every day. And every day I get up and I do that. I committed to myself I'm going to do it, and then I get up and do it. At the end of 2 weeks, you know how I'm going to feel? I'm going to feel awesome. Why? Because I just committed something to myself. I set a goal, and I achieved it. It doesn't even have to be a big deal, right? But to me, I just achieved something that I committed to, and that builds confidence. Because the next time, listen now, the next time that I need to do something, let's say that at work, I have a goal, I've got a deadline that I need to meet, right? And it's 2 weeks away. And that deadline requires me to work on this project every day for the next 2 weeks. Do you realize that the framework that I laid when I committed to working out, doing the 30-30-30 every day for 2 weeks, and I achieved it? I committed to it and I achieved it. And when I did that, I reinforced my belief in myself that I was able to do that, right? Do that one thing. Now I've got this deadline at work. It's 2 weeks out, and I've got to work on this project every day for the next 2 weeks. And I think back to myself and I say, you know what? I can do this because I just did this other thing for 2 weeks every day, right? And it's just little things like that that build on top of each other. And now let's say I commit to that. All right, I'm going to work on this project every day for 2 weeks. I'm going to spend 1 hour every day for 2 weeks, and I'll meet my deadline. And I do that, and I'm successful in it. And I set that goal, and I achieved it. Now I've got momentum, right? So now I've got momentum building that I can do the things that I commit to. And I'm starting to build confidence in myself. Setting goals, holding yourself accountable, and achieving those goals and celebrating those wins, no matter how small they are, that's what builds confidence. Does that sound awesome? If you could build some confidence by setting goals and achieving those, celebrating those small wins, I think you would be amazed at how good you feel about that. So let's talk about some actionable steps to be able to do this. I've covered some of these just in random conversation, but I want to go through these individually, okay? And so because this is PXP, this is play-by-play, we want to give you some tangible things out of the playbook that you can walk away with. All right. So if you take notes, if you're a note taker, then you're going to want to write these things down. Let's see. I've got 8 things on my list right here. So we're going to have 8 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Write that down. I'm going to give you 8 actionable steps that you can do. You can start today. Okay. And you're going to, in short time, you are going to be building confidence. And that confidence is going to snowball. And before long, you're going to be like, I can do anything, right? There's nothing that I can't do if I put my mind to it. If I set a goal, I commit, and I stick to my commitment. All right, so number 1, we talked about it already. Set small, achievable goals. The key word there is achievable, right? So don't set a goal that you can't achieve. That's does the opposite of what we want it to do for your confidence, right? Set a small, achievable goal, right? So small, manageable goals. Something as simple as waking up 15 minutes earlier each day, or, I don't know, committing to a 10-minute walk at lunch. Lunchtime walks are phenomenal, by the way, for your health. If you've never done a lunchtime walk, maybe start with that. Maybe kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Maybe you commit to a 10 or 15-minute lunchtime walk every day for the next 2 weeks and see how you feel at the end of those 2 weeks. You're going to do 2 things. You're going to feel a lot better. So we're going to achieve some health goals, but you're also going to set a goal. You're going to achieve it, and you can celebrate that small win, right? So the key is to choose something that you can achieve without too much struggle, because we want to be able to achieve this goal. It still should require some effort, okay? It's not something like wake up every day. It's got to be something that requires a little bit of effort, but something that's achievable, right? So when you accomplish these small goals, this is where we start to build the foundation, right? That's going to boost our confidence. All right, so that was number 1, set small, achievable goals. Number 2, keep the promises to yourself. All right, so once you've set these small goals, all right, you got to follow through. So this is a crucial step. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you're proving to yourself that you can be trusted, right? So you promised yourself you're going to do something. You kept that promise. And now you've just proved to yourself that you can be trusted, right? It's like making a deposit into, we'll call this your confidence bank. How's that sound? So you're going to make a deposit into your confidence bank. And then over time, what happens when we put, a little bit of money into the bank each day? Over time, what happens? It starts to build, right? And over time, these small deposits, no matter how small they are, they add up. And you'll find that your self-belief grows stronger, right? Your trust in yourself grows stronger. All right, number 3, celebrate your wins. I can't overemphasize this point. All right, we have to celebrate the small wins. Take time to acknowledge and to really celebrate your successes. Give yourself a pat on the back. Say, I did this. I did this. Be braggadocious about it, right? Call somebody that maybe you have an accountability partner. Maybe before you start this, you tell your best friend, your partner, your kids, your somebody that, hey, listen, I'm going to start setting some small goals for myself, and I'm going to tell you what they are. And I want you to hold me accountable. So I'm going to report back to you every day, every few days, once a week, whatever. I'm going to report to you. And when I do, I want permission to brag about that, okay? Because I want to brag about my small wins. And you know what that person's going to do? They're going to celebrate with you. And that's going to be exciting. And no matter how small the win is, it's still exciting because you're building that confidence, right? So it doesn't matter how small the win is, we celebrate it, right? Could be as simple as, I don't know, I said patting yourself on the back, but maybe taking a moment to just reflect on what you achieved. So we're gonna celebrate those wins, and that's gonna reinforce this positive momentum, this positive behavior that continues to motivate us, right? So motivation is internal. I think I did a podcast one time about the difference between inspiration and motivation. Motivation is internal. And so when we create these wins, when we celebrate these wins, it helps to motivate us internally to keep going. All right, that was number 3, celebrate your wins. Number 4, challenging your negative thoughts. When you have a limiting belief or a negative thought that creeps into your mind, and it will. So let me pause here for a second and tell you something about what's going to happen when you start doing this. All right, your limiting beliefs. What are we doing here anyway, right? We're trying to overcome limiting beliefs, right? We're trying to build confidence. But that when you start this down this path, those limiting beliefs aren't just going to go sit on the sideline and just be quiet. Your mind is still going to jump up and say, hey, yeah, but, right? When you try to do that 10 or 15 minute walk every day at lunch, your mind is going to tell you, if you take your lunch at 12 o'clock every day, at 11:45, when you start thinking about, I got to get ready to do my lunch here in about 15 minutes, your mind is going to say, yeah, but you got all this you got to get done. So why don't we just work from our desk and we'll catch up tomorrow, right? We'll walk 30 minutes tomorrow. We just don't have time today, right? And it doesn't really matter anyway. What's 15 minutes going to do? We can skip today. You are allowing these negative thoughts to creep into your mind. And when they do, you got to challenge them, right? That side of your brain that says, no, I'm not going to listen to you, limiting belief. I'm not going to listen to you. You got to challenge it. You got to ask yourself, is there any real evidence to support that limiting belief? Fear is a word that we throw around all the time, right? So limiting beliefs, it's like a fear that I'm not good enough. It could be used synonymously in this context, fear and limiting beliefs. Fear, we use that as an acronym sometimes, false evidence appearing real. So it's false evidence. And when that limiting belief pops up, when your mind says, there's no way that you're going to be able to keep this up for 2 weeks Because remember the last time you tried to do something? Remember that time you started working out? You even got a membership at Planet Fitness? And then you remember how many months went by and you never even used that membership? That's what your mind is telling you, right? And some of you right now are saying, well, that actually did happen, so it's probably true. And I get that, right? So that's what our mind goes back on. This limiting belief oftentimes is a result of an actual thing that happened, something that happened in our life. Maybe it was a failure. Maybe it was something that we felt like we didn't live up to. But that doesn't matter because that's in the past, and who cares, right? I mean, failure is part of success. If you're not failing, then you ain't trying. You hear me? If you're not failing on your path to success, well, then you're not trying very hard because failure is going to happen. You're not going to find success without also having to overcome failures along the way. It just doesn't work that way. So I want you to ask yourself when your mind says, yeah, but, I want you to ask yourself, is there any real evidence that supports this limiting belief? And more often than not, what you're going to find is that these thoughts are based on fear, which is false evidence that appears real. And I'm not discounting how fear makes you feel because it feels very real, but it's based on false evidence so many times. I don't know the statistics. I would throw out like 99% of the things that we are fearful about, our limiting beliefs, are probably just not true. I don't know if that's a factual number, but I think it's very, very, very high. But more often than not, we find these limiting beliefs, these thoughts, they're not real. And so we need to replace those negative thoughts with positive affirmations. And let me tell you, I'm not a affirmations guy. I believe in them. I think they're great for some people. I think some people's minds really, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? They absorb it. And let me tell you, let me just show you an example of a flaw that I would oftentimes nitpick. You see where I just made a mistake when I was talking? I got tongue-tied. Maybe you didn't even notice it, but I did. I got tongue-tied right there as I was trying to make a point. And I would, in the past, when I first started speaking or podcasting, I would worry about that little point right there. But you know what? That's just a limiting belief because I'm 100% sure you didn't care. That was all in my mind. I got tongue-tied. So what? I'm having a conversation with you. But my limiting belief said, that wasn't perfect. You made a mistake. And so that means you're not good enough. You got to replace those negative thoughts with something positive. And sometimes that's an affirmation. And if affirmations work for you, look, I'll record you some and send them to you because I love recording affirmations. I just don't get a big charge out of affirmations. But that's not to say they don't work because for some people, they're gold. And I love recording them. And I do record those. I record affirmations sometimes and send them to people. So if I can do that for you, connect with me on social and say, hey, I'd love some positive affirmations about XYZ. And I'll record some for you and send them to you. Look, if you find yourself thinking, I can't do this, I want you to replace it with, I'm capable and I'm prepared to handle this challenge or this task or this, whatever this is. Just fill in the blank. I'm capable and I'm prepared to handle whatever it is. Okay? I want you to tell yourself that. And remember what I said earlier, that our subconscious doesn't know the difference between what we say and what someone else says. And so if I tell myself that I'm capable and that I'm prepared to handle something, then my subconscious starts to believe that. And I can push out that negative, limiting belief, and I can replace it with something that's positive. All right, that was number 4. We spent a lot of time on that point. That was challenge negative thoughts was number 4, by the way. If you're just writing these down, number 1 was set small, achievable goals. Number 2, keep promises to yourself. Number 3, celebrate wins. Number 4, challenge negative thoughts. And we're on to number 5. And that is surround yourself with positive influences. You know, you've heard people say all the time that you are a reflection of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Are those people lifting you up or are they dragging you down? Because there is no riding the fence here. All right. I think sometimes in our mind, we tell ourselves, well, this person's not really lifting me up, but also they're not really bringing me down. I don't buy that. I don't buy into that. I think someone's either a positive influence on you or they're a negative influence on you. I don't think there's in between. All right. So the people that you spend time with, those people can have a very significant impact on your belief about you, about yourself, the things that you tell yourself, right? If you surround yourself with positive, supportive people, right? So positive, supportive people who believe in you, and really more than that, like they encourage your growth. They want you to be a better version of you, as cliche as that sounds. They want you to be a better version of you, right? Their confidence in you can help you build your own self-belief. I tell people this all the time. I have more confidence in you than you do sometimes, right? Because I know what you are capable of when you start knocking back these limiting beliefs, when you start replacing the negativity with positivity, when you start building the self-confidence, when you start celebrating these small wins, when you start committing to goals and achieving them. I know what you're capable of. You have these limiting beliefs in your mind that I don't have to hear, right? So I can stand back as a outside observer and I can know what you're capable of. You've got to deal with those limiting beliefs that are inside your head. I'm not listening to those limiting beliefs. You are. But if you surround yourself with positive people that will constantly lift you up, and they will support those things, those positive affirmations. They'll support those positive thoughts that you're trying to put into your mind, right? When you tell yourself, I'm going to do this for the next 2 weeks, and I know I'm going to do it, and I'm going to set my goal, and I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to celebrate this win at the end of 2 weeks, those people, that person, whoever it is, like the people that are around you, your accountability partner, those positive influences around you, that they are saying the same things. And they can help you build confidence in your own self-belief. So that was number 5, surround yourself with positive influences. Number 6, 3 more to go. Learn and grow. Learn and grow. Sometimes our limiting beliefs stem from a simple lack of knowledge or skills in something, right? When I first started playing guitar, acoustic guitar, and I'm not great by any means. I'm like a chord guy, right? I can play like 4 or 5 chords. I can play, a bunch of songs that have, your basic chords in them, and that's the extent of it. But that was all that I really wanted to be able to do. So I accomplished my goal in what I wanted to be able to do with it. But when I first started learning how to play guitar, I didn't know how to play. And in my mind, I kept telling myself, I'm not going to learn this, right? My fingers hurt too much. They don't bend this way. I don't have a good ear to know if I'm in the right key or if my strings are out of tune, right? I would tell myself all these things. I would make up all these excuses as to why I wasn't good at playing guitar or why I wasn't going to be able to be good, right? Why I wasn't going to be able to learn to play guitar. I'd make up all these excuses. But really, that came from a lack of knowledge or skill. Like I needed to build the skill and the knowledge around playing the guitar, and some of those limiting beliefs would just go away when I got that skill under my belt. So I had to commit to learning or improving my skill set in playing guitar. And for you, whether that's you have to take a course or you need to read a book or seek mentorship or expand your knowledge in a way that it helps you feel more confident and more competent. I tell people all the time, young people especially, when you're going through school, if you're going to go to college, if you're going to go down a path of education, take as many speech classes as you can, because I don't think you can learn to speak too well, right? And speaking is something that is crucial in so many parts of our life. And like the idea of public speaking for most people scares them to death. It's up there with snakes. Like public speaking and snakes, they trade places for number 1 on the list of things that people fear the most. But here's the thing that I found is the more you do it, the more you practice, what I like to do is listen to people who are good public speakers, who are good orators, And the more you do those things, the more you immerse yourself in those things, the more competent you begin to feel about your ability to speak publicly, and the more confident you become. So your competence and your confidence both improve. I remember the first time I ever taught a college course, and it was in person, and I was teaching the class, and let me tell you what, I was sweating to death. Like I thought I might die up here. But now, almost 30 years later, I love it. And I look forward to the opportunities that I get to speak and to teach and to share and to educate and to mentor, all those things. I look forward to those things. But it took repetition, and it took me building my competence and my confidence in that area. So if there's an area you feel you need to grow in, right, to help with those limiting beliefs, maybe your limiting belief is, I don't know how to do this. And that is true, right? So there's some truth to that limiting belief. Then work on it, like learn how to do it. And sometimes just building the knowledge and the skill in a certain area will make that limiting belief have to go away, right? So that was number 6, learn and grow. Number 7, visualize success. Now you've heard these types of analogies before, but when I was growing up, I would play pool, I'd play billiards, and oftentimes in my mind's eye, I would visualize that ball going into the pocket before I hit it. So like I would visualize me hitting the cue ball hitting the 3 ball, and the 3 ball going into the corner pocket. And I would visualize that before it happened. And it was like this powerful tool of me seeing success before it actually happened. Visualization is an incredibly powerful thing. You hear about athletes who are using visualization to maybe make a free throw before they do, or hit a golf shot, maybe before they make that putt. And so visualization is so powerful, right? So spend a few minutes each day visualizing what it looks like for you to achieve your goals. Imagine how it feels to succeed and how your life is going to be so much better, and you're going to feel so much better when these limiting beliefs aren't as impactful for you, right? This is a mental rehearsal. This is all in your mind, but it can increase your confidence and make your goals feel more attainable. Listen, we're going back to our subconscious again. And when we tell ourselves things, our subconscious believes it, but also when we visualize these things, right? Our subconscious believes what we visualize. When we put together that visualization, right? When I would visualize that 3 ball going in the corner pocket, and I would see that in my mind's eye, my subconscious would begin to believe that was what was going to happen, and that limiting belief would start to be suppressed, and all of a sudden, I have confidence that I'm going to make this shot. You know, if a basketball player is standing on the free throw line and they're visualizing that free throw and it's going in the basket, right? Their confidence is boosted when they get ready to take that shot. It's a mental rehearsal. It goes on in our mind, and it's us training our subconscious of what success looks like before we even achieve it. Such a powerful tool. So spend a few minutes each day visualizing yourself achieving these goals that we set. All right, these small, back to step 1, these small achievable goals. Visualize yourself. What does it look like when you achieved it? How do you feel when you just got done with that 15-minute lunch walk? Or maybe your goal is bigger than that. You know, how does it feel when you get done with that hour-long Peloton ride? Got a Peloton bike sitting right here with me in the office. And sometimes if I think about, if I got on that bike right now and I rode for an hour, what would it feel like when I got off? Oh man, it'd feel so good, right? There'd be such a sense of accomplishment. My body would feel better. My mind would be clearer, right? I'm visualizing what it's going to look like when I get done, and it helps to build confidence and motivation before it even happens. Does that make sense? I want you to try that. Visualize success. That's number 7. And the last one that I wrote down, take action despite fear. Let me say that again because it might be the most important of all of them that I wrote down. Take action despite fear. You know, the biggest hack to achieve success is taking action. Far too many times, we don't succeed in a particular area of our life because we don't take action. How does the saying go? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. How about that? Just stop and let that sink in for a second. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Wow. What if I was really bad at free throws and I only made 10% of the free throws I shot? But I shot as much as I could. 10% is still better than 0, and 0 is the percentage if I don't take any shots. Right? So take action despite fear. Confidence that we're trying to work on, we're trying to build confidence because confidence is the thing that helps us to rid ourselves of limiting belief. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. Listen to me. It's taking action in spite of fear. Fear is not a weakness. Fear is not abnormal. Fear is not something that only certain people experience. Everybody experiences fear. The most successful people in the world experience fear. It's what you do with it that matters. Are you going to let it freeze you in your tracks? Are you going to let it paralyze you? Or are you going to take action in spite of it? Look, you acknowledge your fear, but you don't let it hold you back, right? Break down your tasks, the things you have to do, into smaller steps. Take one step at a time, right? When something's scary, when something is causing fear, break that thing down into the most simple steps, right? And each step forward, no matter how small that step is, it's forward progress. Each step forward, no matter how small, is progress. And progress is going to lead us to the goal that we committed to. So every one of those little steps that we make that leads us closer to the goal that we committed to gets us further away from the fear. We leave fear in the rear view mirror. You've heard me talk about the analogy of the windshield and the rear view mirror. The windshield is big, right? It's expansive. It's huge. That's where our eyes should be. We should be looking forward. The rear view mirror, it's small. Why is it small? Because it's just for us to glance and see what's behind us. It's just to look back, to look at history. But it's just a glance, right? It's just a reference point. I don't drive in reverse using my rear view mirror. It's just a reference point to look at, to see what is behind me, to see the things that I've already passed, to give me a reference point of where I've been. But the windshield, it's big. It's huge. It's where my eyes should be 99% of the time. And when you're taking action despite fear, you are looking out the windshield. When fear paralyzes you, we're spending too much time looking in the rearview mirror. Your focus should be out front. All right, friends, we've talked about 8 actionable steps that you can take that is going to help you crush these limiting beliefs and boost your confidence. All right, so here's the 8. If you didn't write them down, you want them now. Number 1, set small, achievable goals. Number 2, keep promises to yourself. Number 3, celebrate your wins. Number 4, challenge your negative thoughts. Number 5, surround yourself with positive influences. Surround yourself with the people that are going to lift you up, not tear you down. Number 6, learn and grow. Number 7, visualize success. And number 8, take action. Take action despite fear. All right. And as always, I want to leave you with a challenge. Over the next 14 days, I want you to commit to setting and achieving one small goal each day. I'm just asking for 14 days. Doesn't have to be anything monumental. just something that requires a little bit of effort and consistency. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a book every day, or drinking an extra 20 ounces of water. Whatever that is, something that you can achieve but takes a little bit of effort, right? And maybe it's something in your wheelhouse, something you've been wanting to do anyway. Maybe it's make your bed every day when you get up. Maybe it's get up 15 minutes early. Maybe it's go to bed 15 minutes early. Whatever that is, I want you to commit to it. The important thing here is that you make the commitments to yourself and you keep them. And then after those 14 days, I want you to move it to two small goals you're going to achieve every day. So for the next 14 days after that, from day 15 to day 30, I want you to achieve 2 new goals every day. We're going to build on this. So for the first 14 days, I want you to just achieve 1 new goal every day. Write it down. Write it down. Put it in a journal. I want you to keep notes of your progress. So write this down every day, right? And then at the end of the day, did you do it? If you did, cross it out. I did it. All right, and then from day 14 from day 15 to day 30, I want you to do 2 goals. We're going to build up to something, and I want to tell you what that is, but not today. All right, so we're going to build up to something even greater. We got something in the works for you. But this is going to get you started, okay? So from day 15 to day 30, 2 goals every day. Commit to them, write them down, and then achieve them. And celebrate this stuff. When you achieve these things, celebrate it. Find an accountability partner. Somebody that cares whether you achieve your goals or not. Don't tell somebody who could care less. That's not an accountability partner. Find somebody who wants to see you successful. All right? And at the end of 30 days, you can look back at your journal. You can see all the work that you put in and all the successes. The important thing is that you make these commitments and you keep them to yourself. And you're likely going to be amazed at the progress you've made. And listen, the confidence that you've built. I'm super excited about this challenge, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do with it. I have more confidence in you than you do because you've got the limiting beliefs that are holding you back. So let's crush those limiting beliefs and let's build your confidence. All right, before we wrap up, remember to share this podcast with someone who you think might benefit from it, right? I always talk about the 5 closest people in your life. Share it with them because chances are if you like it, they're going to like it too. So let's spread this message of empowerment, of growth, of crushing limiting beliefs. But most of all, as I always say, I hope that something that was said today helps you to become a better version of yourself. I'm your host, Jamie Yarrow, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day.